Today is the 25th or the 26th?
It's the 25th. 25th? Oh, do I have that wrong on the agenda? Yeah, 25th.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to September 25, 2020 meeting of the Niskayuna Town Complete Streets Committee. Welcome to any citizens watching in and joining us today, and to our members. Let's see, I think I see Tess Healy. You're here with us, Tess.
Good morning.
And Lauren Brown. Is Lauren out yet? I guess not. Paulina, are you here with us today?
I think Paulina said she couldn't make it, or she's going to join. No, she's going to join late.
Join late, okay. I see Carla. Good morning, Carla. David Hogenkamp, are you with us this morning, David? Not yet. Dart is here. Good morning again, Dart. And
morning, everybody.
Good morning, Jim Levy. We see Jim is here. Pete Rivicka from the Highway Department. Not with us just yet, so when you run into Pete at the next town board meeting, Laura, you'll have to say, Pete, we miss you.
Same for you.
We're crippled. We can't function without you being here. So ask him if he'd be willing to join us. I may have to make a trip to the Highway Department with some donuts.
Donuts always help.
Laura is here, and Clark, we've seen your message here. So good morning to Clark Henry. He's here. And Jean, thank you for joining us as well, too. So anyone have any modifications to the August 28, 2020 minutes that were included in the packet that Laura sent out to us? Any additions or corrections from anyone? If not, I'd like to move that we accept those minutes, and looking for a second on that.
I'll second that, Bill.
A second on the minutes. Thank you, Carla. Okay. Anything number 4 on old business, or what do you think, Laura? Do we have some old business items, or?
I left it open, but I think most of our old business items are kind of the running things that we do in our committees, our discussion items.
Okay. Well, one I did say to Laura before that I thought it was a good letter to the schools, and we're Niskayuna School Improvements. We still have that on the agenda. So it felt good to me that the input from Complete Streets Committee was taken into consideration and has actually been forwarded to the school district in a written letter signed by the town supervisor, saying that the town is recommending that the school consider the hike and bike connections that will make each of our school campuses a little bit more bike and pedestrian friendly. So we'll have to follow what's going on with the school board to make certain that those changes make it into the plans, and I'm going to be encouraged by that. I want to thank committee members for helping do counts of pedestrians and bike riders crossing River Road at the intersection of St. Joseph and River Road. You know, we found, again, 53 bikers crossing from the period of 6 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. at night, 53 bicycle riders, and 60 pedestrians. I'd also note that some of the folks crossing were parents with young kids on bikes that were going to Craig Elementary. So I think that's a real case for having a push button crosswalk there. Okay, why don't we move on to new business? Laura, you included some planning board projects, and why don't you start us off on one of those?
Okay. I'm not sure because they're very sketchy to begin with, both of them right now. So they're really just conceptual. And I guess I'm just, wondering if you have any initial thoughts, or if we want to compare them to the map, or if we just want to wait and see. Which screen am I presenting? Can you guys see my map or my email?
Your email.
Oh, okay, wait. There. Now, can you see the map? There's too many things open on the computer.
This is Shannon Boulevard that you have in front of us, Sarah? And,
Yeah, can you see it?
it's pretty light, but we can make it out.
Okay. So this is the corner of Shannon Boulevard and Route 7. And there's an existing historic home, like right here. The developer recently cleared all the vegetation around it, so you can see it when you're driving up and down Route 7. You might have noticed it before it was kind of a little overgrown. And he's proposing, I think probably, in my opinion, maybe too high a density of lots, but that's something the planning board is going to talk to them. But, 1 lot over here and then 3 up here. And I don't know, like, we could pull up our complete streets map. There's a sidewalk on Route 7 that probably doesn't need to change or get affected, really. And that, but the thing that is noticeable about this area is that there's open space to the town of Niskuna up here, and it's actually very close to the Leishakil. Right down here is the Leishakil. And there may be, I know this is maybe not complete streets, but it's paths and connections anyway, maybe an opportunity to get a path or an easement through here down into the Leishakil, possibly. I don't know. I have to look at it a little more. That was my initial thoughts.
So would that be a pathway to get to the hike and bike path from folks crossing Troy Road, or?
I think it would mostly just be a connection to a recreational space in the town of Niskuna.
Okay.
Hey, Laura,
Yeah.
at the very least, I think what we should do is along Route 7, make sure that there's a right-of-way large enough for a bike path or a multi-use path. So we should start when things get developed along Route 7, we should make sure we have enough space to do that, because I think there's a real need there. And then maybe additionally make sure that there's enough to put in something along Shannon Boulevard. Not necessarily meaning that we'll do it, but we should, I think, start identifying corridors and making sure we have enough space.
Yeah, I think so too. I can pull up and see.
I mean, I'm looking at the map. I don't know if there is or not. It's hard to tell.
Complete streets map.
Looks like it'd be tight in one part for sure.
Well, along Shannon Boulevard, it looks like there's quite a big hill there.
So, sorry. Yeah, turn it. Nope, maybe not.
But I think if you look at the lots, they're big enough that you could probably ask for an easement of like 5 feet or something, and along with the right of way of the street, it would give you enough space.
Yeah, so we don't really have any connections in here proposed yet. But that certainly doesn't mean that you wouldn't want to do something. And if you can make any connection from a neighborhood to a natural area, I think that's still.
Yeah, I mean, particularly since the town owns that property down at the edge of, where he's considering developing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oops, there you go.
Yes.
The other question I had too, Laura, on this was I noticed that the conservation, land conservation zoning cuts these lots. Does that have implications for how he has to develop that?
Yes, it does. Yep. The lot sizes in the LC have to be much larger.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So when he develops the lots, what zoning does it take? Does it take the R1, I think that is, or does it take the LC? Or does it depend on where he builds the house?
We have had split zoning proposals before. Yeah, and it's not like we don't treat it like one overtakes the other. It's like whatever you have in the more restrictive one is sort of the guiding factor there. So yeah, it's a good question. I know that like where the cash registers and stuff mattered when we were doing the
Yeah.
Rite Aid. I would imagine then probably where the house goes is going to matter, but I don't know that if you put all the houses in the R1 zone and you're just completely ignoring that the back is
Yeah.
zoned LC, but you're still actually subdividing. I don't know. It's a question. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah. Are we going to see this at the Conservation Advisory?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Then I'll hold the rest of my comments till that committee.
And it's just very preliminary. Like, so if we're thinking maybe just look for space on Route 7, look for space on Shannon Boulevard. And if you guys think it's a good idea, let's see if there's some kind of way to make a connection to the Elisha Kill.
I think that makes sense, Laura. Complete streets or not, I think that connection makes sense since it's a major, natural area in town.
It's kind of complete streets because you're making connections.
If you've got something down Rosendale, people from Shannon Boulevard could walk through there to get to school, but that would be an awful walk through the woods. So I do know to start on the map, they actually have identified the New York State DOT right-of-way monuments. So Laura, if we're talking about that, it might be nice to kind of called out where that right-of-way is, because you know what happens if you don't put in a sidewalk or a trail now, you come back to do it later, the homeowners can say, well, you can't do that, that's on my property.
My yard.
It'd be nice to maybe, if they can show on here, whether it's this sheet or another one, actually show how far in that right-of-way goes, because people will not understand what that little dot is. So if it's shown this is the right-of-way for DOT, that actually, I think, provides a pretty decent width if it's the circles, big dots there.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I agree with you. I mean, even if they don't build it, they could show it in dotted lines where the multi-use path would fit so that somebody looking at the subdivision plan in the future could see that there was something on there.
Yeah, something other than the dot. Like they show the sewer easement with a line. It'd be good to show the road right-of-way or whatever, just to show that it does cut through the parcel or maybe the back. Something more than a dot representing that would be good.
Yeah.
Just so we don't have that in the future. And then I was wondering, I've noticed for a while that they've been doing work out on the corner there, Shannon Boulevard and across the road on Route 7. Is that just some utility work or what's been going on?
Well, he was doing a lot of clearing. I mean, not a lot of clearing. He was brushing the house and limbing up the trees.
Oh, because they had like realigned the sidewalk on both sides of Route 7, kind of on the corner there. I was just curious.
No.
Okay. It doesn't really matter.
Well,
So,
yes. And hopefully they're making sure that the curb ramps comply with our ADA transition plan.
So Laura, in other words, we're asking, not only would there be a hike and bike path along Shannon that would take you from Troy Road down these 3 or 4 housing lots that would then connect to a path that would go over to the Elisha Kill. Is that right? What we'd be looking for on this?
I don't know if it would connect to the path. I feel like a path would just, I think maybe there's a herd trail in there now, just generally speaking, be a benefit to the neighborhood so that they had kind of an approved.
Right. In other words, I guess I'm just saying, would it be asphalt pathway or a sidewalk that would be on Shannon? You'd go down the 3 or 4 lots, and then on that last lot there'd be an asphalt pathway that would run along the property that the developer would put in that would connect to Elisha Kill Preserve.
I think.
That's what we're asking.
Well, it's up to you guys, but I think actually if you get into putting an asphalt trail through the kind of open foresty area there, you might invite more traffic. I think if you just make an easement, over a herd trail or whatever is already being used, and just a dirt trail that gets you down to the Elisha Kill, you're probably making that connection, but maybe not, because you guys already know, like, people think that trails invite.
Well,
Well, but we want people to see that there's a trail there when they buy the home, even if it's just a wood chip trail or something like that, that you don't get shocked later on that people are walking by your yard. It's like, if you buy this property, you're next to a wood chip trail that lets people get access to Elisha Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What we could do is we could just put like a small split rail fence along the property line just to denote where that is, it doesn't have to be that long, but, I agree with you, Bill. We do want to sort of demarc it as a pathway.
And I think I agree with Bill. Like if on Shannon it was paved, and then when you got to the preserve, there was a little sign there, and maybe even with a bike rack, I think it would be great for people to ride their bikes there and then go for a hike.
Too, huh?
Yeah, one of the things I think I mentioned in the past, if we don't put a trail in, is actually to have the developer put up a sign to say, future potential trail location, and stick it in at the edge of the road so that the homeowner behind it knows and the neighborhood knows that that's something that's coming in. Don't get it, don't get the wood chips or whatever.
Well, sometimes developers, I think, feel like I may lose a little value on that lot if it's next to a trail, and they don't want that. They want to get as much money as they can for every single lot. And so they may not be that pedestrian friendly to start with. So I think it's good that we ask for it. And that's why I was even asking about the trail coming in off of Shannon. I mean, should those yards have a sidewalk or an asphalt path in front of them? So that's a known commodity as well too, that if you buy one of these lots, there's a walk path on Shannon that at least goes down to the wood chip trail. Unless like the road's good enough.
Yeah, I think if we want anything on Shannon, that would be something we would ask for specifically, because they're going to be putting in driveways and other things. So that would be something you'd ask to get done as part of the lot improvement. And the trail, the town park may not be something we push, but if we don't, we at least need a sign that says future trail, or future path or something.
Yeah.
I think the future trail is really important, because I think even though there may be a herd trail-ish there, it doesn't connect into any formal trails of the Leisha Kill. So it might still require like working with the Nature Conservancy to make something on the other side. But obviously, I think in the future, that's always a good thing. The more trails. Yeah.
I think that town has a lot of right of ways between lots and stuff, and they're always problematic because homeowners eventually start mowing them and stuff, and all of a sudden it becomes part of their property, and then it's always a battle to put it back.
And it's always a battle to put it back. So if the developer may not be thrilled about putting a sign up now, but we will never get it installed later if the homes come in and we try and do it after the fact. It's much harder.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
If it's something we want to ask for and push for it now, even if it's just a sign.
So like make space for a multi-use path on Route 7, show the right of way and potentially the space for that path. Look to do a sign for future trail or trail with a bike path, a bike rack and trailhead, possibly if we can. And I like the idea of a split fence. And then actually build a pedestrian sidewalk along Shannon, at least to the open space.
Yeah, that's nice
for the improvements, but the fallback would be just simply a sign at the end, where that future trail path would be.
Yeah.
Right. If you ask for all those things, then maybe they'll at least do something.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of like 1, 2, 3. I don't think that's like a huge reach either. 5 lots is actually a major subdivision if he's going to stick with 5 lots. So
Laura, I'm trying to understand how big that piece of property is, and the Holy Redeemer site is right next to it. Is that the goes all the way down to Rosendale Road? Is that piece?
Yeah, here. I think they have it labeled wrong because this is the parcel right here, right now. This sorry, my lot lines are a little bit old. This is actually one parcel. Most Holy Redeemer, these two right here are both a single parcel. They got joined quite well.
That was that 50 acre lot.
Yeah, and the Holocaust Memorial is right in here.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, just like this is this is like the Holocaust Memorial right here. So they have their own little subdivided piece out. So yeah, Most Holy Redeemer. Then you have that. This is the Leisha Kill that's running through right here.
Yeah.
And like according to the GIS, this piece here is the Nature Conservancy that comes down.
Oh yeah.
This piece here is the town. So like it's labeled Most Holy Redeemer on that subdivision map, but I think that's wrong. I think this is the Most Holy Redeemer here. This is the Nature Conservancy. This is the town. And then if you do something in here, you can make that connection down, get them on the Nature Conservancy property here, as long as, you know, we can coordinate that with the Nature Conservancy. And then you have this vast amount of woods that actually isn't heavily utilized right now because the
Elijah Kill.
range in the Elisha Kill trails are all mostly up here and on this side of the Elisha Kill. So
Yeah, that would really increase the utilization of that asset. I think that's a really good selling point.
and if you can make a really nice trail and work with the Nature Conservancy to make a nice trail, I mean, it's servicing this entire section of people right now that are kind of cut off for anything unless they get on Mohawk Road, which is a pretty busy road.
Now, is that parcel right? And I'm pointing to it. I know you can't see it, but it's off County Clare Lane, where that big remaining parcel is. Is that also town?
Yeah, because this was a average density development. So all this land around the County Clare and Dublin is open space. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Laura, can I ask if the town owns that parcel next to the property where we're talking about a trail? I mean, should we ask the developer for a trail on his property, or should we just move it over and put it on the town property right there, right on the edge?
It
Just
probably
put
makes the most sense to look at the topography and put it where it'll work. I can turn the it's quite here. Oops. I'll like put my contours on.
Now, is it very steep on our property or unusable or?
Yeah, it looks like it may make more sense to be on our property. I don't know. It is very steep in there. Can you guys see those contours?
Yeah, it is.
It's yellow. I love yellow. This is my favorite.
The only thing I could think of is if you put the trail along the top of those properties where the development is, it provides a buffer between the homeowners and the ravine there, which
Here.
probably could be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you make sure that the sidewalk or multi-use path gets built from here to here,
Yeah.
gets you to any kind of trail that can get you down into the Elisha Kill.
Yeah.
This is steep though. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
It's really steep.
Yeah,
Along
I'll
the edges
have to
there.
check it out. It's just
That whole side of the Elisha Kill is pretty steep from what I've
is
seen.
it steep? This is maybe why there aren't very many trails over there. It's something we can look at though.
I think it actually makes sense to go on the developer's property, kind of along the contour, just kind of perpendicular to the hillside and cut across. You might have a bridge there on the town property, and then you'd end up picking up the same thing on the town property where you'd be kind of running perpendicular to the slope. You'd be able to get relatively flat.
Yeah. Yeah, I know lots of trails like that. As long as you make them wide enough, you can go right along the slope and you're not going up or down or anything. You're just going along the slope.
And the odds are, Bill, that when the developer goes in, they're probably gonna do a lot of clearing. They're gonna have a lot of heavy machinery out there, and it's not a big deal to ask them to do that work when they've got it all out there. Some of the biggest
Okay.
costs is mobilizing.
I mean,
the
I can
equipment.
see a developer saying, hey, you're asking me to put a wood chip trail on my property, but you got town property that's not going to be developed right next door. Why don't you put the trail on the town's property and even ask the town to maintain a wood chip trail over there? And I mean, that's just kind of a thought that
That'll probably be the argument, yeah.
Yeah, but I think from a conservation standpoint, do you really want homeowners right back up on that ravine where they could dump leaves and stuff into the ravine? I mean, I think from some standpoint, it makes sense to pull that property line, the private property line, back from that ravine slightly and put a buffer there. That's the argument that I would make on that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm only trying to be devil's advocate in front of the committee
Bill,
here,
I think it's
assuming what the
important.
developer would say. So
Yeah. No,
Even if you didn't pull the property line back, you could still ask for the right of way over it. And as you said, Dart, if you put a fence up there, it does kind of provide that physical demarcation, even if it's still the other person.
yeah, I do think a wood fence should be put in there so that a potential home buyer, anybody knows the town's got a a right of way here, and they're anticipating a wood chip trail. So any homeowner buying something there would know this is the scoop when they buy the property. So
Absolutely.
I mean,
Okay.
really, when you look at the lots, the lot 1, 2, and 3, they're deep enough that it will probably not really impact that lot at all. I mean, they're pretty deep.
Yeah.
The only one that the developer, I think, would balk about would be his lot 5, because, I don't know.
The entirety of lot 5 is steep. I'm not sure it's a buildable lot.
Yeah.
So, for the Nature Conservancy to put trails on the backside of Leishakil would be a lot of work for them. And I know there's, already a plan in place for trails, but I just want to make sure that Laura or somebody's already been in touch with Paul.
I have not. No, because this just came up like a couple days ago.
But for the developer or us to put a trail that basically leads to nowhere, or that you can't
That's
get.
what I was saying. You'd have to coordinate it with the Nature Conservancy, and they'd have to be okay with it. Otherwise, you would just put a sign that says future trail, and then
Yeah.
hopefully you could work on it. If you can get it all to fall into place in the right amount of time, and the Nature Conservancy, like, I don't know if they have a plan for that backside, but has a plan for that backside, and we can get volunteers together to, work on it, then great. But otherwise, and I haven't walked it, but there may be a herd trail there anyway. So it may not actually be the hardest thing to do ever, or it may be really hard. I don't know. I actually really don't know. But that's why I kind of like the idea of you can put a sign for a future trail to put people on notice. And then if you are able to build it, even if it's a long time in the future.
Okay. Any further thoughts on this project? If not, let's move on to Balltown Road and the former animal hospital.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this one is just a conversion of that building potentially from the vet to apartment building. And the only thing I can think of complete streets wise, unless you guys can think of something else, is obviously like this is a wide open curb. There is like not a lot of pedestrian connectivity here on this part of Balltown Road. Everybody drives like 70 million miles an hour. But like maybe we could just, I don't know. Any thoughts you guys have on this one is great. There may not be any complete streets recommendations for this one.
My wife has said there are, when she go to work at Shenandoah, that she would see kids walking Balltown Road. There are some high school kids that live in Rexford and they walk Balltown Road. And so at some point, I think that we would want a hike and bike path that would go all the way from Providence or River Road to the Rexford Bridge. So, maybe we would want it on the other side of the road. So maybe there isn't a request here, but at some point, it would be nice to have one there. Let me ask Laura, this doesn't get us over into the tech park, does it? Would it? I mean, is there a bike path in the tech park? Does it get us closer to the swimming pool or anything in the back there that we might want to ask a hike and bike?
To the new single family home subdivision by Amador. This is it right here.
Oh, I see. Oh, so there's already a road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. There's no sidewalks or anything. I was thinking if it's apartments, it might be nice to connect in so the residents have at least, small neighborhood they could walk around without having to go on Balltown. But there's no sidewalks in Schwaber and
We had talked at one point when this was being looked for a bigger apartment complex to maybe bring some kind of a path to the back here so that they could get into the Amador Homes subdivision and at least have somewhere to walk and not be so isolated on Balltown Road. But
so there's a stub street in that Amador Homes development. It looks like it goes toward the, I don't know if it's a right of way of some kind. mean, do you think that's going to be developed in the future and this will all connect in? And that would be important in the future that this apartment connect to that development, which eventually will work its way south? Or is that unlikely because of the right of way and everything else going on back there?
I mean, I do like the idea of connecting it into the Amador Home subdivision so that people who are living here have a place to walk that isn't Balltown Road.
Yeah,
That
I-
section of Balltown's nasty. It's kind of, people are flying along through there and it's right by the pump station. It feels narrower, but people seem to speed up in that area.
I mean, I do see bikers. That's where I live. I do see bikers on there rarely, but when I see them, they're not, you know how we talk about that level of, comfort with people who like the painted bike path, share roads versus a painted bike path versus the painted and protected bike path. The bikers that I see on Balltown Road are the ones that have the full outfits on and the clip-in pedals and the helmet, and they're going like, 20 miles an hour because they're super amazing. It's not like casual bikers on Balltown Road.
Hey, Laura, I think though, like when we talked about the Amador development, I thought that we asked them to put a stub for a potential connection to the rail bed back there that would connect the town park and the bike path eventually. So we might want to provide that access
To the back.
to that community and then to the back, because that would provide
Yeah, that's
access
through
from
here.
down through there and then all the way down to the bike path another way and vice versa.
Goes
Yeah.
like,
Laura, can you scroll over just a little to show everyone? I was on Google, but to show where the town park is. It's really not that far.
oh, sure. I was just making you can't actually do this because you'd have to use the roads in Amador because this is a subdivision now with a road. With a road that goes around it, but something like that. Yeah, the town park's right there. So we had been talking, there's actually these, you can kind of see them, there's these trails. This is the old railroad bed here. These are like 4-wheeler trails or something. But yeah, we want these to make it over to the town. This is the pool and this is the senior center. And there's a little bit of a ravine here that we have to work with, but it's definitely, you can definitely make some kind of connection over to these parks through this railroad bed and this trail that's coming over. Yep.
Yes, I think we should support that hike stub in the back. Because people that live in apartments, it would be a passive path to get back to the pavilion, the swimming pool, maybe even access to the bike path so they could, get back down to Hillside Avenue or whatever without having to be on Balltown Road. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so we'll make that recommendation early on and see if he can do something.
Okay. Anyone else have a thought on this project while it's still up? Okay. If not, let's
So are we
move on
recommending-
to complete street events this fall, our demonstration project.
So I had a realization, if we do some traffic calming treatments, it's also the same time people are going to be having their leaves on the road. And I'm not sure if that's going to work together. And then the other thing was I was trying to go back through all the past notes and I couldn't find exactly which segment of Clifton Park Drive we were thinking that we were going to do this on because I wanted to go there and look at it. But so does anyone know the specific segment that was under consideration?
Yeah, the one that's north of Knott Street.
Okay, so the one that's right by the co-op?
Yeah,
Okay.
this probably maybe if we were thinking because the one is the confusing intersection with Clifton Park and Crescent, but then you could go another block north of that to do.
Okay.
Oops, where is it? Sorry, I'm trying to.
That ends in Lexington Parkway?
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. If you wanted to, you have two blocks there that you could use. Oops.
I mean, is there one? I agree that the Crescent one is confusing, and then things might get changed with that anyway. So that's why I was sort of didn't want to pursue that one. But then was there a block of Clifton Park that people felt like particularly would benefit from some traffic calming?
So I actually think that one might have been the south block because there was concern with the changes to the traffic patterns from the Knott Street improvements. We wanted to make sure that if traffic shifted from like Via Del Mar or Clifton Park or something, that there was going to be traffic calming so that people weren't ripping through those different subdivisions, different roads trying to get to somewhere. But they ended up making all the parking lot for the co-op stay on Knott Street. But we could do the south side of Clifton Park Road as well.
Okay. I mean, it's a longer block.
We did longer, yeah. And those people were definitely concerned and listening, and are paying attention and would like to make sure that their road is not forgotten. So,
I think does Lauren live in Clifton Park?
no,
Does
Bill does. Does Lauren live there too, Bill?
No, she's on Dean Street.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
But I thought if we put in chicanes, that the people on my block would think that, gee, Bill's involved with chicanery here.
Well, everybody knows it already. Bill, which block do you recommend?
I haven't thought about it. I at one point we talked a little bit about Regent because it's got auto traffic on it, and we're talking about having the proposed crosswalk. I mean, I don't know if and Regent is kind of a connector on our complete streets map that it's possible maybe the block of Regent that connects to Knott Street that we could do some chicanes, we could paint some sharrows, and we'd say this leads to a crosswalk at Regent and Knott Street right here. And I know that when we did Orchard Park, we painted the sharrows on, and if we did sharrows on Regent, they would stay. It wouldn't matter if they stayed because that's a pathway that's already on our complete streets map. And if we have a crosswalk at Regent and Knott Street, that would be kind of a pathway that we'd be encouraging pedestrians, maybe students, to use both on north and south of on Regent Street, both north and south of Knott Street. And it wouldn't. So, in other words, I'd suggest that as a possibility for.
How does a chicane and a sharrow work together?
Well, the sharrow, as I see it, is just a message to pedestrians and motorists that expect to see bikers and pedestrians on this road. Slow down and be aware that there will be. And I mean, the sharrows, we could go all the way from Grand Boulevard to Knott Street, paint some sharrows on Dean Street if the highway superintendent were supportive. And then, for one block, we could do the hay bales and put chicanes in as a traffic calming device. Another possibility where the chicanes, I know we have on Upper Dean Street as you come to Providence, where neighbors have complained about speeding. There's been the machine that reports your speed, which I think is designed to help people slow down. But I've often felt, even though that's a county road, that would be a good one to put some chicanes on, because then you'd be saying to neighbors, we're doing this with hay bales today, but this could be something that might be more permanent if, it appears to work and cars do appear to be slowing down. Then you'd say we're doing it with hay bales now, but if it works, we would make it permanent with maybe a little asphalt curbs that would bump in and bump out and would be a traffic calming measure. That at least we're going with a traffic calming measure in a 2 or 3 block section where the neighbors have all complained that there's too much speed on the road, and they're, when is the town going to do something to help us out? So
my question is, does the chicane make a bicycle also have to go more into the road, or is there a little path for the bicycle to stay towards the edge and go in between the edge and the chicane?
You can design it that way.
Okay. I would prefer that personally.
We'd have to see how much room is there and figure it out, but you can design it that way. typically you do that both for bikes and also because of drainage issues. If you have a grate there or something, you don't always want to cover that. And the easiest way to get these things done is to do that. So yeah, we can go out and do some measurements and see what we think would work. But yes, that can be done, certainly.
And Laura, when is the crosswalk coming on Regent across Knott?
Well, we still haven't. So our engineer is putting together a submittal package to the county for their approval. And then we would still put the bid specs together, and then we would put it out to bid. So it's definitely unlikely to be completed by December 2020. It's probably more likely that it would be put in spring of 2021, provided that we can get all our approvals. Which, I think as long as we have all our ducks in a row and make good justification, I feel as though that we can make that justification. But I wouldn't expect it this year.
Okay. Well, because part of the demonstration, I would like to put in a temporary crosswalk. And I mean, maybe Knott Street's too busy for a temporary crosswalk. Maybe we should just put it on a different street. But so I guess I'm inclined to avoid Dean because it's a county road and it already seems like enough just to get our town to give permission for things. So
yeah, the county won't let us do a testing. I already asked because when all the people on Dean were saying that they wanted traffic calming, I've asked multiple times if we could do traffic calming demonstrations on Dean, and they really don't want us to. But Regent is very similar to Dean.
Okay.
I think we would have to do our demonstrations on our roads and actually do the installation on our roads. And then if it was super successful and everybody loved them, then the county might do them on Dean.
Okay.
We gotta lead the way because we're awesome.
Is it okay to do it on Regent then instead of Clifton Park? Does anyone have any preference? Okay. And then so what about my concern about people's leaves and the chicanes going on at the same time?
Yeah, I might ask Ray about that because theoretically, if we put hay bales in, if everybody was raking them to the side of the property, it might make it a little difficult for them to vacuum. We could look at the windows that they vacuum those areas and see if we can schedule it in a window when they could still rake them out, but our vacuum guys wouldn't be vacuuming there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Is that available? I always have a hard time finding that as a homeowner. Like,
the window for vacuuming?
Yeah, like when it's happening in different regions. I usually see it in the newspaper, but
I saw it in the newspaper. It was in the Gazette, Uranus supplement this last week. It came. I get it delivered to my house on Thursday.
Okay.
And it does come to other people's houses, but it is right on our website. If you go.
Oh, it is. Oh, good.
Yeah. Go to. Well, actually, they just posted it, but it's actually, I think, always on the highway department's website. So, loose leaf pickup.
How long would we leave the chicanes up, Laura? 1 week or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking like a week, which is why I think we might be able to schedule it around. So, Old Niskayuna is zone 3.
Yeah, I mean, we could even ask the town if we just did one block, they could always come back the following week and get that block in case so they wouldn't miss the leaves. You take the hay bales up.
That might freak the people out who live there, though. I feel like we should just schedule it when it's not the time that they would be vacuumed. So It looks like loose brush pickup is the week of October 12th this year for Old Niskayuna. And then loose leaf pickup is November 2nd and November 23rd. So that gives us quite a few dates to still work with. Yep. So let's avoid the week of October 12th.
Okay.
I think the best time to do that would actually be after the pickup because people start putting stuff out a week or two ahead, ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it makes sense and we can make it work, I think right after they get picked up would make the most sense if we can make that, if we can make that work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so the week of Sunday, October 18th.
Or because that's brush pickup, if we did it after the first week of leaf pickup would be the week of November 9th.
Okay, if we need more time.
Yeah.
Now, whose approval do I need for this?
Yeah, we'll probably need to have the whole town board's approval. I don't think they need it by resolution, but we'll just make sure that the town board approves everything, supervisor approves everything, and the highway department is obviously on board to help us because they'll be the ones that are doing the work. I mean, we do a lot of work too. I think the Complete Streets volunteers are one of the hardest working groups we have, but they'll probably be the ones that move hay bales around and stuff.
And if we have a budget to buy hay bales, or we could also just use cones?
Yeah, we could do either. I think I have a fair amount still left in my miscellaneous budget, which is what I typically use for events. I mean, not amazing. Like, my budget isn't amazing to begin with because whatever, but like, I think I at least have a couple hundred.
Okay. Does anyone have a lead on where we can get some cheap hay bales?
I saw them at Lowe's Sunday. You can definitely get them at Lowe's.
Okay.
I know you used to be able to get them at Hewitt's. Now Hewitt's isn't there, but maybe a similar garden center.
Okay. Yeah. Well, of course. Most of those, I think they're expensive at the garden centers, but probably Lowe's.
Well, we could ask I don't know if like Bard's Farm has them or not. Like, it'd be cool to use it as a Unifarmer if we could.
It would be.
Yeah.
Would we have to buy them, or could we just borrow them for a week and return them?
Pretty sure. I'm not sure that you could feed them to animals after they sat on a road with dirt and dust from cars and stuff. Like,
Okay.
you might be able to use them for like erosion sediment control and stuff, but if people take care of their animals like I take care of mine, I wouldn't feed them after I put it on the road.
Use it for compost.
Yeah, you can use it for compost. Yeah, that would be totally fine. Just not eating.
Right.
So would we need to identify which block we're going to do and then kind of have a hand-drawn diagram for the board to look at to say, okay, here's where the chicanes would be, and if we're going to paint sharrows on the street, would we have to ask permission to do that if we went from Grand
I think
Boulevard
we can mark, on the map where we want the sharrows.
Sharrows?
Yeah, sharrows.
And
And then kind of that there's a gateway, there would be a sign at the beginning and a sign at the end that would say, this is where the demonstration project starts, this is where the demonstration project ends. And then also do a mail out, just outreach to anybody who's in front of that demonstration project.
Okay. All right. I can try to write up like that proposal for the board and make that little map. Bill, I think it sounds like region between Knott and Almeria is good.
Mhm.
And okay, so good. I'm glad.
Maybe we could go not to Story and have it be the block that the kids walk to VA. Is that too many blocks?
I wouldn't want to do more than one block,
Okay.
but well, okay. Let's see here. I mean,
You could do
Fairly
Almeria.
short from
Story.
Story to Almeria.
You could do region from Almeria to Story, and that puts the entrance a little farther away from Knott Street.
mhm. Yeah,
Which gives
that's
people a time to kind of read the signs and figure out what was going on.
right. Yeah, I like that. I like shifting it down, and then it's only a second short block. I think I'm willing to do that then.
Who knows, we wouldn't go as far as Knott, or
No. I do think that has a little bit of advantage so that you don't have the entrance to the demonstration project off of Knott.
okay.
Which
Yeah.
on the one hand would make it a little more visible, but on the other hand might make a little more confusion with traffic. I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, that short a street, I think you'd only have just a chicane on one side and one chicane on the other, right? As traffic calming, you wouldn't be able to do two on each side, would you? Because it's almost too short from
No,
Story
not
to,
Barcelona to Story. It would be Almeria to Story.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty short block though, isn't it?
No.
I mean, I block it.
No, it's a normal size block. There's Almeria to Barcelona, plus then Barcelona to Story.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's the same size, right? Because it's a little bit longer. This is not to Almeria. Ooh, whoopsie. This is Almeria to Story.
Yeah, see, that's, you'd have like 2 chicanes right there, but, well, actually, oh yeah, Almeria you would, yeah. Almeria is good. Almeria story would be good.
Not to Almeria. Look, this is not to Almeria. This is Almeria to Story. That's longer.
Mhm. Where can a crosswalk go?
Yeah, maybe we could do a crosswalk from like crossing Regent to Story or something. If we're, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be good because I feel like it is a little bit busy right there.
Are you just gonna do the bump outs? Or are you gonna do like put in a bike or walkway path on one side of this? Oh no, there's a sidewalk on there. There's a sidewalk on one side of the street, right?
I think it's partial, right?
Partial, right?
Yeah, I think on Regent, there's a partial side.
Yeah, there's a sidewalk.
It's
Yeah.
it's on both sides, but it just depends. The neighbors, the people themselves had to put it in. You could
Yeah.
put a crosswalk across Story.
And then will the Sharrows go on both
Across
sides of
Barcelona.
the street?
You could put a crosswalk across Barcelona.
Okay. Do you think that's better than crossing Regent?
Region across not.
No, Regent, like from where Story, if you're coming on Story Ave and you want to cross to the other side of Regent, that's where I was going to put the crosswalk.
Oh. I don't know. I can scope it out as the kids walk home and see.
I don't think, there's not a sidewalk on that side of Regent though, is there? I mean, isn't the sidewalk?
Yeah, they're on both sides.
Yeah, do you want to scope it out and see where you think the crosswalk makes the most sense? That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, we'll keep working on that. Paulina, would you like to join the subcommittee?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And Carla is on it too, so it's great, plus Jim. Okay, we'll work on that more now that we have the location. And do you think it's feasible, Laura, if I had that done in like a week and we submitted it? Well, I don't know. Like, how long will it take to get everyone's approval?
So I think that I have been talking about it with everyone that I can possibly talk about it with.
Good for you. Thank you.
So I think that there's understanding that we're trying to do it. So when, you know, the details will always make people pay more attention and then be like, what are you doing? But I think that, yeah, if we can get this ideas together, I'll talk about it again at the highway committee this October. I will talk about it again at my committee. I think that we should be able to get it vetted at committee. And then, you know, I think that essentially that's really just where the approvals need to be. So I think we'd be able to get, you know, the approvals and have everybody really take a look at the details in the first 2 weeks of October. And then wherever we schedule it, it just can be, like we said, either October 19th or November 9th, right?
Okay.
So the Sharrows, would they go from Grand Boulevard to Knott or just go from Story to Almeria on Regent? The Sharrows, if we painted them on the road.
I would just do Story to Almeria. Like the Sharrow stencil we have is really big, Bill. It's going to take a long time. Like, I don't want to I don't know how much like actual volunteer help I'll be doing to physically.
Oh, it can go pretty quick because you just put the stencil down on the road, you get the spray paint and you just spray paint in the stencil and it can go pretty quick. We did Orchard Park in
I've done it before, but like, if people are going to be there helping me, okay, but.
Yes.
Okay.
I love painting stencils. Count on me.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bill.
Help too.
But, you know, we're going Story to Almeria on the Sharrows, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't think we want any one person to take on, like, you know, one giant chunk of this. Like, when it's planned and it's approved, I think, like, you know, we would use town staff and volunteers to the extent that the volunteers want to volunteer. But nobody would be out there by themselves trying to put things
I
together.
think we could ask Pete Ravicka to help us with the stencils, you know, I would think. He's on the committee.
We've kind of ruined our ability to do it by ourselves because, like, we may have potentially put stencils down that never came up.
Okay, well, in that case.
Well, that's a good point. Like, for the lead time, are we ordering that special chalk like right now, or like how long will it take to come in?
Yeah, I'll look because you kind of never know what's on back order with COVID. I'll take a look
Right.
and see what we have. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I think I've got a lot to work with here, so I don't want to take up more of the meeting time. And if Carla or Jim or Paulina want to tell me something else, you know, we can talk about it more outside of the meeting.
Okay, good. Let's move on to complete street. Okay, to a pedestrian connection grant. Any update, Laura, on that?
Well, so we sort of talked about that under old business. I completely agree with you. It's fantastic that you guys did that work for that count. I think that's going to make a difference. I sent it to the engineer. He's putting it together in a document for the county. But as I mentioned before we started recording, he asked if we can do counts on Knott Street as well. So that seems like we talked about it before, though. It's going to be hard because right now there isn't kind of a dedicated spot for crossing. But I think with what you guys did already, it's already made a big difference. So we can certainly send that in. If you think you can do a Knott Street count, great. If you don't, if we're kind of spread thin and we're doing the complete streets event, I'll just tell him that this is what we have so far. So he can pretty much handle anything. And I am still planning. I have not forgotten to do the survey to residents. So in that survey, we have those questions. I really wanted to have that done for today, but Jim helped and he put it all together. I still need help. But I'm not giving up on it. It'll be all right. So then we'll have
So
that.
the three main items there are the push button crosswalk at River and St. Joseph,
which we have the
push button
count now.
crosswalk at Region and Knott, and then the 2 blocks of sidewalk on Knott Street from Baker down to Lexington.
Like a half block, yeah.
Half block, yes. Now,
Yes.
those three, is there something else that's in that grant, or are those the three main items?
There was repaving the bike path, but that's been completed.
Oh, okay. So this is money we got from Assemblyman Steck, is that right? Or
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And then the Niskayuna school improvements. I thought we had a really good kind of subcommittee meeting out at the gazebo, which is, by the way, a totally awesome place to have meetings. I really liked it. And put together that letter to the school, which was sent out. He acknowledged it. We're hopeful that it's something easy that they can fold into their designs. They can reach back out to us about any questions that they have, and hopefully keep us involved as they go through this process. Because we recognize that there were impacts to the town based on the upgrades to the school. So that went well, and we just got to keep paying attention, I think, and following up.
Okay. I was wondering if Jim Levy is still here. Are you still out there with us, Jim? Or if you wanted to report on the drop-off of students at Van Antwerp, and also I want to throw it out to the committee. Do we still want to try to do sometime in the fall counts at each of the schools on how many kids are walking to school, how many are biking to school, and then maybe, how many are being dropped from cars? Is there a benefit to having that information in terms of promoting walkability and bikeability to each school campus, or have we already accomplished what our counts might give us by getting the school's engineers and architects to consider our suggested breathability improvements to each school campus? And if Jim's not there, he's the lead advocate of getting some counts. But anyway, I put that out there as.
I think we definitely should do it, but I'm just not sure how accurate the numbers are going to be. I know right now we have people dropping their kids off at our house and walking from our house because they want to avoid the traffic at VA, but they don't want their kids crossing Knott Street. Well,
I think that's kind of good. As a matter of fact, I was thinking that if the school has 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something to kind of settle into whatever the pattern is, that if we did counts at, 4 or 5 weeks in, then presumably we're getting past the kind of noise and confusion with the first 2 weeks of school, and people have kind of developed a pattern, especially schools that are high school. Some kids come on Monday, Wednesday, some Tuesday, Thursday, that they've settled into a pattern. And so, I mean, our counts might not be perfect, just as they're not perfect at River and St. Joseph, but some counts are better than no counts. And I think
Exactly.
you're better off making the argument with the school board and other people that if you say, look, we got together and we made some counts, here's what they are. If you don't have confidence in them, or you want to hire a professional firm to do them, that's your business. But we have professional people on the committee, and we made these counts, and here's what we got. So
We know that they would be higher if there was a crosswalk in place. I mean, just when I was at St. Joseph's, 2 women who were just walking on the bike path said they would walk their kids to school or let their kids walk to Craig if there was a crosswalk there at St. Joseph. But they tried it and traffic was terrible, and they wouldn't let their kids walk there alone. So,
yeah. Well, I do think that having some counts, if we're trying to promote walkability, like making sure that back connection at Hillside over to Van Antwerp is there, or walkability to Van Antwerp, that if we've got counts, then we could say, look, there are people here that if we want a better sidewalk on Story, a better sidewalk on Grand Boulevard, that there are people that are walking. And if we had better crosswalks, even the path going from VA over to Alton, and crosswalks on Dexter, a good crosswalk on Story going over to Palmer, a good crosswalk at VA on Grand Boulevard, that there are walkers and bikers now, and you'd get more, or the ones that we have now would be safer with these other improvements in place. And having the count says it's not just 3 kids at each building, you've got a substantial number of folks biking and walking. And so that would help our case with the town and the county, I think, where we'd be asking them to do improved sidewalks and crosswalks on town and county roads that are next to the schools. So anyway,
so where
hearing
not street? Where do you station the crosswalks, or do you do it at where you think kids are crossing? Do you do multiple ones by the school or at not, or?
Well, certainly, like Region and not, but when we looked at the campus at, say, Hillside, and the plan we sent to the school was a crosswalk going from Cornelius over to the school. Then we wanted the school to kind of go from their parking lot around to Van Antwerp along Plum Street. We also wanted the school to repave the bike path that's in the back of the Hillside campus going over to the walkthrough that gets you up to Van Antwerp Road. And then when we looked at Van Antwerp, part of our thoughts would be, well, hey, county, how about an improved asphalt path? You've got 4 feet on Grand Boulevard, but how about repaving that? It's got some trip hazards on it now. And Story Avenue, we probably could ask the town to repave that as well. But then even around the Van Antwerp campus, we know there's not a good crosswalk going across Story to get to Palmer. There needs to be a good crosswalk on Dexter to get from the school over to the field. We know there needs to be, if they put in the path that would take you from Dexter over to Alton over there. And then as we look at, even Region and Grand Boulevard, there may be, some crosswalks there. And I just feel like if we had counts, even if we looked at Birchwood School, we don't know how many parents that live in the homes on the other side of Birchwood actually walk their kids and use the crosswalk at Birchwood Lane to get over to the elementary school. There may be more than we know. So the counts would be, it's a baseline to start with anyway. So, we could certainly set up a plan, ask the school district for their permission, try to get a couple volunteers or 3 if we can, and just hit the school campuses, the high school, VA, Hillside, maybe Birchwood, and get some counts. So don't be surprised if we send you an email asking you to volunteer, and I can work with Jim to set up a schedule and try to do it. And Carla has inspired us here. Instead of waiting, she volunteered to do 2 hitches at River and St. Joseph. And so once we had that in place, I did a couple, and we had other people fill in, Paulina and Jim Levy. And so we got that done. So
Which
I
is
think it's
totally
just a matter of setting a schedule and doing it. So we've got to maintain our standard that Laura says as being an active committee in the town. And so, anyway.
Okay.
I would just add as another footnote, I did, this is on Rosendale Road. I do like the plan that we sent to the school district that actually has a walk path that goes from River Road Park over to Rosendale Road. And the school district is planning on pathways that connect Rosendale Elementary to Iroquois Middle School. So that's good. And we now have the one path there. On Rosendale Road, I did walk it, and I have started working on the list of the properties that's from Upper Union all the way down to the Elisha Kill Preserve, and trying to work with Jim on getting the owners of each property. Sometimes one list has got folks that maybe have passed and new owners, but to get the owners, and then I kind of listed what I saw as impediments. Some places are light poles. There's a drainage basin or kind of a steep drainage ditch there, and fire hydrants, and then there are some hedges and other things. So I've just been making notes as I go along, like what's the impediment at this property, and what might be a possible solution, so that we move along on identifying the properties. We note the impediments there, talk about some solutions, and then we do as much legwork as we can to maybe trying to get a grant. And then once we know the properties and the address, we can send a letter either from Complete Streets or from the town saying we're thinking about this and we'd want to talk to homeowners. And then, we'd have a list that we certainly could have Michelle Osterlich or our county reps use to talk to those homeowners, or to use the dollar figures that Jim Levy has in terms of cost to really come up with a plan where you can say to homeowners, this is what it's going to cost, and also getting the right of way, that kind of a little clue on how far it would move onto your property and whether we could go on one side or the other of the light poles. And then, so if you talk to a homeowner, it would be, here's where the path would be, and this would be the impediment or the inconvenience to you, and move it forward, I guess. Keep it going. So that's just a little update on that project. Okay. Hey, we're doing good. It's only 10:20. Does anybody else have another item that they want to discuss for this Complete Streets meeting? Or if not, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and been a good meeting. Okay. Hearing no one, I guess, unless we have, we'd like to thank everybody for, again, helping with the counts at River, and thanks to Tess for taking on the leadership role with our demonstration project, and the other members that have been willing to help out. And we'll keep pushing on. So thank you, everyone, for attending today, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn for today. Anyone?
Seconded.
Okay, Dart has moved that we adjourn, a second by Paulina, all in favor. Bye-bye, and
Thank you.
see you in October. If not,
Bye.
another one of our work projects out on the street. So
Thanks, guys.
bye-bye.
Thank you.